after we started using it is that we were actually putting more deals together, because we were able to get the information up front. Because a lot of those customers didn't know exactly how much money they really made on a monthly basis. I mean,
Oh,
they were, a lot of times construction or landscaping, housekeeping, stuff like that. And so what we were doing is we started pulling them up front before, we started submitting anything. So we had accurate information. We knew exactly how much they made before we submitted it, and put together more deals doing that.
it's
Yeah, we were asking, "Oh, I make 10 grand a month." And they were kind of guessing because they're not in their, they're not looking at their deposits every day. And then sometimes at getting into your bank account and printing out 3 months and doing all of this stuff, it can be time consuming. And a lot of times the salesperson wouldn't want to do it. The finance manager wouldn't want to do it. And this made it super easy for us to just pull the information. And we were sending a ton out at the time, and put a lot of deals together that way. A lot of times with W-2 employees, especially when you're dealing with more subprime credit, or they may be hourly or something like that. A lot of times they only know what their net check is. So when you ask them how much they make, they don't know. They
their
know
gross.
they don't know their gross. They know what the deposit is coming in, and unfortunately, a lot of times in that market, you need more income. So knowing the correct information is super important. So right now, that's what I'm stressing to my stores is make sure you pull one up front so that we have the correct information on these subprime deals, because they can be really tight with PTI. And that's what's helped there, and helped us put more deals together. I know early on when we were a little hesitant, um, and we just started, we just said, you know what, we're going to use it on all these deals. And next thing you know, we ended up increasing the amount of business we were doing. Right. And um, there would be times where I think there was one time in particular that was the guy owned a roofing company, and he's like, "Oh, I make 6 grand a month." And we're like, "Well, we don't have a deal," because he was trying to, buy like the $60,000 truck. Well, we ended up, we pulled a TurboPass, and he was making like 40 grand a month, but had another account with 100 grand in there. And sure enough, he could buy whatever he wanted. So that's where you really we got in the habit of doing it all the time. So yeah, we didn't think we had a deal because he was trying to get too much truck based on what he told us he made. He just had no idea. Now we use it all the time, especially on the out of state, because fraud. One of the things that's come up recently is AI with fraud, and I had a bank rep about a year ago, and she called me and said, "Tyler, you want to hear the craziest story?" I said, "Sure." And she said, I was over at one of these used car dealers that I have, and a lady was trying to buy a car out of state. It was a Mercedes, and they didn't have any ID verification tool. And so what they did was a FaceTime. And during COVID, right after COVID, before anybody had the ID tools, that was something that a lot of people did. So the customer had her driver's license, and had her, and went on FaceTime and was holding it up, right? And so my rep was watching the video with the dealer at the time, and he looks at her and goes, "Did you see it?" And she goes, "Did I see what?" And he rewound it and showed her again. He goes, "Did you see it?" And she goes, "I didn't see anything. What are you talking about?" He goes, "Let me slow it down and watch for her face wiggle." Slowed it down, watched it again, and sure enough, the face wiggled a little bit. The customer had some sort of AI, like almost like a Snapchat filter, that had taken the license, like the picture off the license, put it on her face, and she ended up stealing a Mercedes from them because of that. So now it's super important, one, to scan driver's license, but also do the liveness check if you're doing a home delivery or out of state or something like that. The nice part, I mean, we can always get a paycheck stub, but just like the story about the ID, um, AI is getting better and better with making fake pay stubs and bank statements. I mean, trying to make sure you have correct information. It's not a bugged up paycheck stub. It's really hard right now because they're getting really good. The nice part about using the pay stub verification, one, it does have the tool that tells you where, if they're currently employed, because it shows the active up there, but it also shows hire date, start date, everything in there. And in some situations, the W-2 from previous years as well. So that's helped tremendously. One, just to verify correct information, and as I said before, put together deals that we may not have been able to put together. But right now the hardest part um, in this market, because of the amount of subprime business we're doing right now, is making sure that we have you know legit pay stubs and bank statements. So cutting out that fraud is huge because it's rampant. It happens to me all the time. It happened 2 weeks ago at one of my stores. They we had a customer that said he worked excuse me, that worked at a certain place and had made up his own paycheck stub, and they're looking at, like, no, it's real, it's real. I go, okay, pull a TurboPass or pull the bank statements and see if it's deposited in there. They pulled it up. There's other deposits in there, but not for the pay stub that he just created.
Right.
So this happened just 2 weeks ago. So yeah, it happens a lot. One of the issues I have, um, is CITs and trying to get deals funded as fast as possible. The one thing I hate to hear from any of my stores or finance managers or desk managers is, "Oh, they're bringing me whatever it is." And I said, "Okay, did you use TurboPass? Did you pull this? Did you pull this? Oh, I forgot." Right? If I'm just trying to get them into a habit of using the tools that they have to eliminate a lot of the errors, and then getting CITs, getting these deals funded a lot faster. Um, because if you have everything up front, most of the banks will fund almost immediately. Um, and proof of residence, I have found sometimes is the hardest thing to get, just because somebody may be late on a bill or they can't find it or they just moved. Um, and that's been one of the things that have held up a lot of the deals lately. So I love it. I think it's great. And yes, it does for a lot of the lenders that we need it for. It's just changing processes. It's making sure that you get everybody bought into the process and using it on a regular basis. It took us, like when we first started, there was a couple situations like we talked about before where, after you saw how it works, then you did it all the time, right? And that's really what we're trying to do now, is change habits just so that they will use it on a regular basis. What I have found, especially when they do like an out of state or home delivery, is if they scan the driver's license, but they don't do the liveness check because there's a problem, then they're usually trying to scam you. Because if somebody's smart enough to buy a car online, if they're smart enough to try to buy it from another state, right? But they can't take a picture of themselves, then I know that it's probably fraud. So that's happened several times where they'll scan the license. They may have stolen somebody's license. It's a legit license, but they won't do the liveness check. And usually at that point, that's when I stop the deal until we figure what's really going on. There's always an excuse, right? It's not a good one, but it's always an excuse. And sometimes these are high-end cars, because we do sell some of my stores sell 100, 200, $400,000 cars, and you've got to be super careful of those. So if the I mean, if the customer is in the store, I'm not really worried about it. We still do the ID report. But if it's out of state, I have to make sure that they would do a liveness check on every single one. Um, and if there's a problem, then they'll call me and we'll go through it. What I like about it is it sorts everything pretty clearly. And a lot of banks still will not accept Uber, DoorDash, Lyft income. And whenever we're pulling one, I want to make sure that all of my finance managers know to look for that before they submit it to the bank, because you may not have a deal or you may have to go to a different bank depending on what the deposits are. Or it could be, sometimes it's transfers. You may be able to see transfers going back and forth, and a bank may not take those. So when working with all of my finance managers, that we go over how to read the report, but also what the bank is going to be looking for, and making sure that they're looking for the transfers or what type of deposits are coming in.